Well, hey everybody, I'm John Schroder. I'm currently your state treasurer. I'm running for governor. I'm from St. Tammany Parish. I'm about 62, almost 63. Been married for 38 years to my wife Ellie, who's a retired teacher, principal. Now she's a contractor. She builds houses. We're business people. We're entrepreneurs. Have been for over 33 years, and I'm happy to answer y'all's questions today. Well, that's a good question, which we don't hear a lot about experience. I have almost 10 years in law enforcement and military. My degree is in criminal justice. That was my first career. I was a Army CID agent, special agent, working in narcotics. I worked undercover. I did that till eye injury ended my career sometime around 29 or so. I've been in business for over 32 years now. Mostly around real estate, but my wife and I are all everything small business, from restaurants to laundromats to tanning salons, grocery, you name it, we've done it. We have a construction company now. We build houses. I'm in a land development company. I own a real estate company. I've been treasurer now for 6 years. I've spent almost 9.5 years in the state legislature. I sat on a budget committee for 9 years. As your state treasurer, I have managed over $60 billion. I've taken an unclaimed property program that nobody knew about and turned it into one of the top performing programs in America. So if experience is what you're looking for, I think my resume screams of it. My wife and I have been a team and partners for many years. As I said earlier, I've been married for 38. We're products of the public school system of this state, both public high schools and college. So education's been at my dinner table, the conversation, for over 38 years now. So we understand what the issues are. We see it, but I also work within the 85 percentile ranks. And I'm tired of watching the 85% follow the rules, do everything they're supposed to do, and never get a break from government. So I understand the burden of government. I see it every day. I work within it. And I think I'm better positioned, experience-wise, to deal with it. I've shown as state treasurer that if you run the operation and if you pay attention to the operation, it can be efficient and do all the things that you expect from a business. And I believe every minute that government needs to operate like a business. So I believe the state needs a CEO, and I'm uniquely qualified. Just look at my background. I understand what it means to have to take $1 out of your pocket and invest it and earn that $1 back, and then do it again. Look, I've been in business, around business, my entire adulthood. My first painting job, I was about 16 years old, and I'm 62. I know I look younger than that. People are leaving this state for the same reasons they're not coming. I've made a career in the development business in real estate. And I live on the North Shore in St. Tammany Parish, and arguably one of the best places in the state to live. Growth, everything you could want in a community, public safety, quality schools. And I would tell you the reason people move to St. Tammany Parish is for public safety and quality schools. But they're leaving our urban areas to do it. They're not coming from Oklahoma and Tennessee and Texas and Nebraska. They're coming from New Orleans, Shreveport, Baton Rouge, our urban areas. Their flight is to the suburbs for public safety and education. So if we're going to improve, that's where it all starts. And you have to stop people from leaving before they ever come back to Louisiana or come to Louisiana. So we have to start with public safety. You have to start with a good quality public schools, and that doesn't happen overnight, but we need to start. You need to start tomorrow, or maybe today, and start moving down the line. But I think one of the things that we really suffer from big time, that I can have an effect on very quickly, is the cronyism and corruption that has infected this state. Everybody's lost faith in government. You hear it all the time. I talk a lot about having faith and trust. As an Army veteran, as a law enforcement veteran, it bothers me to hear how much faith and a lack of trust people have in government. That has to change, and that tone has to be set by the governor all the way through, because this isn't just a problem at the state level. It's amazing the stories that I hear where public officials are taking advantage of different situations to make money. Money corrupts this process. I'll be very transparent and accountable, but we have to start with our public officials, because why does a business want to come to Louisiana if you can't put your kid in a public school, you can't walk outside after dark, and you don't know what the rules are? So my plan is the rules will be the rules. Access is equal to all. The little guys will get treated like the big guys, because we have more little guys than big guys. And who is the best ambassador for your state? Are the people who are here now. We need people in businesses today that attract other businesses to come, because they are our best ambassadors. So I want to work on how do we keep our businesses here, the ones that we have. But 52% of our jobs in this state come from small business. So as governor, I'm going to concentrate on what we have now before we ever can attract anything new. Well, let's start with the infrastructure. And I don't mean roads and bridges. I mean the infrastructure of the state departments, DOTD, Department of Revenue, and all the departments that deliver the services. Nobody believes the Department of Transportation is doing a good job, except maybe the current secretary and the former secretary. We're going to revamp that. We're going to revamp it. We're going to bring technology in, because it is almost criminal that we have the money that we have and it sits as long as it sits, and we can't get these projects started for years. So I can tell you, I've dealt with it as state treasurer. I ran a program from start to finish and got $275 million out the door in 6 months, whereas it's taken me 13 months just to get a $3 million banking contract through the department, through the governor's office of the state of office of procurement. Where it's broken, it's antiquated. We need to bring technology to the table, because I said this a moment ago. If we don't do the little things, the big things won't happen. We can't get a project finished. We can't even get people paid on a timely basis. I have people tell me all the time that take months and months and months these contractors be paid by the state. We need to totally revamp the process. I'm going to bring some entrepreneurs to the table, and we're going to embed them in these departments, and we're going to make them efficient. We're going to invest in technology, which is severely a problem. It's a huge problem. You see it all the time. You just look at the amount of money, cash, that's still taken in versus using your credit card or other digital payments. We're caught in the Stone Age with Fred Flintstone. I'm going to bring this up very quickly because it takes an investment. But let's talk real quick about infrastructure and the money that was spent. This is about priorities. So I want to see these projects that are on the books, that we have money. We will figure out how do we get these things moving, and we're going to do it quickly. If we got to change the laws, we will change the laws. But it's ridiculous that we have millions and top of millions of dollars just sitting earmarked for these projects all while we wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That's not going to happen. We're going to change that immediately. But I want to say something else about the money. We have to better prioritize our money. I'm not convinced that the state's spending what we need to on state priorities. We need to look at that very closely, and that's what I will do. I think we waste too much money on issues or projects that are not priorities of this state. We want to be Texas, but we don't want to act like Texas. We're a poor state. We need to act that way. We need to treat every penny like a dollar. I'm not in favor of taking these extra dollars, surplus dollars, and spending them on non-state projects. That's a bad problem that we have, and I'm going to end that. Look, I've been around the legislature and the state capitol as state treasurer now for 15 years. Some people say I'm an insider. I've been on the inside, and I've been knocking on the door to get out for a while, which is why I'm running for governor. There are new ideas. I had a task force created back in 2016, 2015. So all the ideas are sitting on some shelf. We just need to go dust them off, bring them in, but at the end of the day, it takes a leader. Somebody who understands business, who understands dollars, 1 + 1 = 2. We need to have a reality conversation on what money do we do have? Because I did an interview today early in Shreveport and talking about this massive amount of money we have. Well, we really don't. We're a poor state. Our general fund budget's just over $10 billion, although our entire budget this year is about $42 billion. We lead the nation per capita on how much federal money comes in. So that's a huge problem. What that tells us, though, that we're very poor, we're very uneducated, and we're a very unhealthy state with 2 million people on Medicaid. So this is related to the question you asked earlier about how do you get people to come to the state. This all starts with what do we need to do to help the businesses that are here today? How do we help them stay? How do we make it more attractive to them to invest, hire people to expand their business? Because if we do that real well, then others will come. Whether that means revamping our taxes, whatever it takes. But let me tell you one thing that I will do that we're going to make a big effort at. We're going to collect the taxes that we're supposed to be collecting. Because I don't believe we are, and I don't even think we're close. So before I even have any conversations, I want to make sure the things that we are doing now, we're doing efficiently, we're doing them correctly, and we're doing them timely. Because until you do that, you don't know where you're at. So we can talk about all these different ideas, but as I said often in this campaign, you'll hear me say this even more in this campaign, we need a CEO to go to work every day, 5 Mondays a week, and run the operation of the state. We haven't had somebody in years. And I'm 62. I don't remember the last time we had a governor who was a CEO type, who surrounded himself with CEO type people and pay attention to the operation on the services that we deliver to you as taxpayers of this state. That's where I'll concentrate on. I won't be concerned about the politics and all the frills and thrills that come along with the job. I could care less about it. I'm going to go to work and we will address these issues. It's not that difficult. All the ideas are out there, from tax reform to sales tax, to 0.45 rolling off, all that. I say that's going to roll off. You know, I don't believe, nobody really has a crystal ball, but this is about numbers. I understand the numbers as well as anybody. First of all, again, I have some experience in the legislature. Then I've watched the last 6 years. I think Bobby Jindal's administration did a bad job at prioritizing it, and I don't think this one's done a good job at all. All you have to do is follow the money. We spend way too much money, as I said earlier, on non-state issues. We're going to make priorities. We're going to spend every penny like it's a dollar. But if we're going to fix some of the problems that really plague this state, we can't afford to spend money on pet projects. We can't afford to waste money on fraud. The Medicaid program, although that's not directly related, but it's a culture in the state where we just waste money, and we don't have enough people paying attention to that. And I see it. I've seen it as state treasurer. We just let it happen. We just treat it like, it's not our money, so who cares? So I think that's something where I can lead on that whole fight. Look, this is piggybacking on the last question. You first have to, I described the education problem in two silos. First is early childhood, the 1 to 4. We have to prioritize that and fund it. Because if we don't stop the bleeding, I was taught in the military and law enforcement, when you have a wound, if you don't want to die, then you stop the bleeding. If we want to fix the big picture, then we have to start with the little picture in the 1-year-old and 4-year-olds and make a investment in it. That has to happen. And then how do you deal with this big pot over here? And that's the K-12. So look, one shoe fits all doesn't work. And in communities like where I come from, where everybody believes people have to go to college, man, I know so many people who graduate with degrees in this state that can't find quality jobs and not because the job doesn't exist, their degree doesn't give them the skill set to do these jobs. We waste a lot of time on our universities on degrees that, quite frankly, you just can't get a job with. So we have to sort of change the culture behind it, but we also have to be able to recognize very early, I'm in the construction business. Painters today are making $20 to $25 an hour. I was lucky to make $10 an hour, and I was a great painter in college. So they're making almost what nurses are making, and they don't go to any college. They go to Home Depot and read a book. So if you can go to Home Depot and read a book to make $20 to $25 an hour is a painter, man, we have to change this model. There's a lot of jobs out there that pay a very good living wage, but our culture sort of breeds, oh man, if you don't go to college, if you don't go to LSU or Louisiana Tech or one of our 4-year colleges like I went to at Southeastern, oh, then you can't get a job. That is simply not true. Our community college is bustling, but we have to make it affordable. Have to make it affordable for people to go to school, to go get some technical degree. I think we have to identify kids in high school quickly and give them a path to a job. I remember graduating from high school, I was worried, what am I going to go study and this, that, and the other, because we didn't have any option. It was a college or bust, so we have to change that mentality. We have to better align our services to deal with kids coming out of high school. Mental health is a big problem in our schools. We have to address this much earlier in the process than wait until we have seniors in fixing to graduate to decide what happens next. We need to start that process much earlier, because I would tell you, by the time kids hit high school, in many cases, they're sort of on a path that they already, or their families know what they can and can't do. If you have an engineer or a doctor in the family by the time you hit a freshman or sophomore year in high school. Well, I don't buy into the whole global environmental green war, to be perfectly frank. And as state treasurer, I've moved millions of dollars out of companies like BlackRock, who have waged war against the fossil fuel industry that directly affects hundreds of thousands of jobs in this state. So, look, I want less government in it. I'd like to see the industry entrepreneur their way to wherever we go. I don't want too much government involvement. Why incentivize people to buy an electric car? That to me is ridiculous. You know, we have almost 1 billion people in this world today that don't have electricity. You know, so fossil fuel isn't going anywhere. I think at the end of the day, as governor, I want to make sure that the state doesn't do anything to be a hindrance. I want to be pro-business, whether that's oil and gas, whether that's hair salons and grocery stores. I'm going to be pro-business from the smallest job to the biggest job. I want to treat the little guys like the big guys. I want to roll out the red carpet for the little guys just like the big guys. But I want government out of the way. But I want to be very clear about something. I want to make sure government's responsible. And it really bothers me to see that government stuffs certain issues down your throat. Government has forgotten its place. I believe government works for us. It's not us that works for government. It bothers me to watch government go into our communities and force things down the community's throats without giving them the adequate time to understand the issues, come up with alternative plans, and then ultimately when you look at why, money. And who's making the money? I don't have a lot of confidence right now that that some of our decisions aren't being made by a select few people to make sure their friends and family get paydays at the end of the day. So as governor, I'll be transparent about all of these things. I will hold industry accountable, of course, if they do something wrong. I do believe that if industry pollutes or does something and breaks the law, then we should follow the laws. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if everybody does what they're supposed to do, meaning you don't have too much government, and industry is able to invest and do the things they think is best, then these sectors will thrive. I just don't want the government to be the obstacle, and I don't want to do it on the backs of people where the cronies are infecting the process, which I'm starting to see quite a bit, which is quite disturbing. Look, I'm not bent that the state's going to default if we don't have a constitutional convention. If the legislature wants to go there, I'm happy to have that conversation. I would tell you this, being around a little while, you don't have to have a constitutional convention to fix these issues. You can file bills. I did it when I was in the legislature to fix certain things. So to me, that's almost gets us off the goal here. If the legislature feels like they want to go down that road, I'm happy to have that conversation. But that's a long process. And I also warn people, the good things that we have could be lost in that as well. So it's not that easy, but I will tell you this. You don't have to wait for the convention to fix the problems that we have. It can be done individually by filing constitutional amendments to fix those issues inside the Constitution that we think we have problems with. I've done it. I've seen it. It's more time-consuming and more work, but it's possible. And it's actually, it may be time-consuming in the sense that you have to do them one at a time, but it's actually quicker. Well, this is, again, relative to other answers, priorities. But we are a poor state. We can't afford to waste a penny. I fully support investing, educating, and providing the equipment so that we have the best state police troop in America. But I also believe in accountability. As a law enforcement guy and a former special agent, and having a degree in criminal justice, I understand this issue. And only a eye injury ended my career. So I'll be a governor who knows as much about criminal justice as anybody. But a couple things have to happen because it sort of gets lost. Because people think when you talk about fighting crime that it's just about putting people in jail. No, fighting crime means having a very good mental health network. It also means preventing and deterring crime because the goal should be to keep them out of the criminal justice system. Mental health has to be a priority. How do we help Shreveport? How do we help New Orleans? How do we help Baton Rouge? We need to invest in mental health because if you look at the criminals committing a lot of these crimes, much of them start with mental health that they've had for a long time. They just didn't wake up sick one day with some mental problem and go do something. This is often a pattern. So we have to intercept this very early on, like in grammar school and high school, and we have to identify kids with mental health problems and then try to figure out through facilities investing. But again, we're a poor state. That's why we can't waste a dollar. I don't like wasting money on non-state projects because we have things like law enforcement and education and early childhood that we have to invest in. So this is about treating a penny like a dollar, creating priorities, and if fighting crime, if early childhood's a priority, then that's what we're going to do. You only have so much money. You have to put it towards the priorities, or these trends of poor education of people leaving our state because they can't get educated or public safety will continue. So we have to invest in these. And I'll be at the front of the line. I'm going to participate personally because we have to be partners. We have to be partners with our sheriffs and chiefs across this state. I will lead that charge. I'll also say that we need to do some other things, like I believe we need to create a law enforcement academy to sort of like we have technical college programs. We need to have a law enforcement program for kids coming out of high school that like to be police officers. Well, there's all kind of issues, and we can sit here for days, but let me tell you why I think I'm best positioned to be your governor and your leader. I think the state needs a CEO. I believe government should run like a business. And I can't ask you a question, but I will. Do you believe government should run like a business? Most places I go, 99.9% of the people say yes. And I would tell you this, of the top 7 candidates, you got 4 lawyers, 2 engineers, and me, the business guy. If you want real change, and I'm talking from somebody who's done it as a leader, then you need to pick somebody who has that experience. That's what I bring to the table. Now, you may not want a business guy, somebody who I'm data and fact driven, but I think it's time that this state has a CEO, somebody that goes to work 5 days a week. I like to say I work 5 Mondays a week and really go address these chronic problems of crime, education, and cronyism. But I will promise you this, with me as governor, the rules will be the rules and access will be equal to all. And every decision I make will be whatever's best for the citizens of Louisiana. Because remember this, most decisions made are in small rooms, nobody's there, but these are million-dollar problems that we have to solve. But my decisions will be based on what's best for Louisiana. Not the people who have donated to my campaign, but what's best for the rank and file citizens of this state. I love serving our state. I ask you to please consider voting for John Schroder. My wife and I would be great ambassadors for this state, but I'm looking to serve. This is not my job. This is not my career. It's 62, a grandfather, and my wife's obviously a grandmother. We want to give back to this state, and we're willing to give you 4 years of our life to help move this state in the right direction, because this state needs 30 years of a good governor, not 4. But it's time we treat it like a business, and you need a businessman to do it. So thanks for the opportunity to visit with you guys today.